everybody. Welcome to Vets Coming Clean, where we ask our guests, what have you seen? I'm Peggy the Enforcer. Today, we are interviewing Eric J. Hecker, who has been doing the Antarctica disclosure, among other things. Granny, how are you doing?
I am doing fabulous. I am so excited. Eric, welcome. I have only been catching things like on documentaries on TV from, 2020, and I haven't seen anything updated. And, they always make everything out like like it's a conspiracy theory, nothing's true, and all of that. And so I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us because I believe there's more out there.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
So can you go ahead and give us a little bit of your background? Like, how did you come into this knowledge? Were you, because Peggy keeps me in the dark so that I can ask questions like people that are just watching the show would ask. So I have no idea about you.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. She wants me to ask questions strictly like somebody
Who
doesn't know.
Who was I dealing with in the emails?
Oh, Peggy.
That was me.
I'm Granny Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah.
10-4.
So she knows.
Okay. With that being said, I thought it was communicated in email that was probably like the worst way to address this topic. I'm looking to have conversations with people that are informed with all of the information that I put out up until this point. I do not want to get into having to start from the beginning.
Oh, no.
And this was clarified in the emails.
Okay. Well, I apologize because most of our audience, most of the vets that we speak to don't know that disclosure is going on at all, Eric. They don't understand what disclosure is. And so
far be it for me to then have to engage the challenge of accomplishing that mission.
Okay.
You want me to bring everybody up to speed right now on this topic?
Oh, no. Just what you've been experiencing.
What you have seen that you were disclosing on, for example, in Antarctica. I've seen pictures from Antarctica and heard stories from Antarctica and about what's going on from others that have been there, researchers and pilots and others, because of bases I was stationed at. So I'm very interested. I'm very.
Then fire away with some questions from the research that you've done so that we don't have to start from square one, please.
Sure.
Okay. Well, from some of the research I've done, the people get taken down there for months at a time for extended periods of time. Is this correct?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. The third-party contractor hires people for extended stays.
Okay. And at this facility, it's almost like you're in a completely different world down there. Everybody talks about how it looks like a different place. Could you describe how it is when you fly in? Because the pictures are gorgeous of the landscape. How a lot of people have never seen snow in their life that have been in the South. So is it bright, blinding, and you have to wear special goggles when you get off the plane? Is it a big adjustment, or how is it? Because a lot of people have never been to the South Pole or Alaska where you work. And so for those that have never experienced cold regions, is it a big shock to your body? And is it like stepping into a different planet?
Great question. When you arrive for the start of your summer season, it is considerably colder than one can imagine. It was I think it was about minus 50 degrees ambient when I arrived, and the sun was certainly blazing in all of its glory in the sky to the point of being, wildly painful. I question whether they ever gave us appropriate PPE, even though we had darkened lenses. I feel like my eyes have been negatively impacted from that year at South Pole Station for sure.
Oh, wow. Well, because of the radiation and just the glare of it all.
Yeah, I mean, the 0% humidity, I think, matters a lot and isn't addressed. And then, yes, the brightness of the sun in the summer season, the I guess appropriate darkness of the lenses they gave us is questionable.
Yeah, I would think that, well, okay, military has not been the best at providing the best equipment in a lot of situations for a lot of people. Um, Now, my question for you is, when you were there, what was your specific, were you shocked or were you well prepared for what you were going to be doing?
I,
Because
I I would say you can't be well prepared to spend a year at the South Pole Station. There's really almost no reference point to consider what you're about to do.
okay.
So do they put you through any type of training or anything before you go down there, or do they
Oh,
just tell you?
absolutely. We did rather extensive training for just gaining new employment. We attended a fire academy in Centennial, Colorado, and we got tutelage under Dr. Nicoletti, who was a psychiatrist for the United States Antarctic Program at the time. I believe also the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Police Department, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Oh,
so I met him directly for both psychological evaluation and education. We had FEMA incident command structure coursework that we had to get certified in. I have a lot of certifications in mass casualty incidents and just general emergency response. So we did that type of training. We did Knowles Wilderness Medicine Institute first responder stuff, and all of these trainings were actually fantastic because it really put us to a keen understanding of the team that we were going to be on. And I'm sure with your military backgrounds that you can at the very least appreciate that sometimes you're doing operations in remote conditions and the only people that are going to help you are those people that you can literally touch with your hands. Like, that's it. So there was a lot of stuff that we learned from participating in those programs that afforded us the opportunity to make adjustments in the real world when we actually got to South Pole. Because again, nobody can really know what you're doing. So we had to modify a lot of the processes and trainings that we were provided to make them work appropriately for the weather conditions we were functioning in.
now I've heard there's machines that do something with the weather down there. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have discussed that a lot. The ice cube neutrino detector can also transmit, so that puts it in the category of a directed energy weapons platform. They also have an ELF system down there that's operable, so that is also a manifold directed energy weapons platform. So these are the things that folks need to consider about what's actually going on down at the South Pole Station.
Well, they are having a hard time on just in Hawaii. I'm sure you are aware, everybody was saying that it was an energy weapon that was used to cause the fires because of how the fire reacted and didn't react like a normal wildfire would be. So, with it being the ice cube and the ELF, does it have the same similarities, or is it a different kind of composition of, um, an energy weapon? I mean,
I think it's a different type of system that would have done something like that. Granted, I have not looked a lot into the topic of what happened in Hawaii, but even
mhm.
from just what I've seen, bouncing around in the headlines, I mean, it sounds plausible that there's an additional directed energy weapon system out there doing precisely that. I mean, it doesn't take much for me to consider the practical reality of that. It's, I'm more trying to bring people up to speed to where I'm at.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that because, like I said, most people think of it as something that is not real, that it's just a conspiracy to cause fear, and not even thinking about how it is actually damaging and hurting citizens, around the world, and the effects of it. So when were you exposed to, because I'm looking at the station right now, live photos, and on the camp, and there seems to be a lot of electrical. Am I not looking at it says Antarctica, and it looks to me like a lot of grid.
You could be looking at anything. You're
That's
doing a
true.
Google search. I'm sure plenty of things popped up.
So the energy weapon, the directed energy weapon that's down there, could it do something such as cause earthquakes?
Absolutely, and I've discussed that for years now. That when the system went from the construction phase to operations and maintenance, and in February of 2011, they accidentally hit the Christchurch area twice.
Wow, that is unreal.
And the wrong
telling how many
hand.
times that's happened. Accidental misfires. Hello, Eric. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joel. How you guys doing? You guys have any questions, feel free to ask. That's why he's joined us tonight. Now, Eric, you've done the Antarctica. So let's see, there's Stargate. I'm trying to remember what else. Can you tell us a little bit about the Stargate program?
I was in it when I was a kid. They used to pull me out of grammar school and shove me in the library to participate in this peculiar government program.
Wow. And your family allowed it, or did they even know?
It was unbeknownst.
So do you have like a higher IQ that made them particularly zone in on you to do that?
I was doing pretty well academically at the time, I guess you would say. Top of the class type performance.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it? Was it challenging, or did you feel like you had to, in a way that you had to protect your family?
I didn't have any thoughts about having to protect my family. It was just a peculiarity of school. I guess I enjoyed getting out of regular class, but it was certainly a very odd experience and oftentimes negative.
In what way? If you care to share.
It was rather abusive to the children involved in the program.
Wow.
Did they do stuff
They were most likely giving us experimental drugs without our parents' permission.
Oh, wow. Such as LSD eye drops and other stuff.
Yeah, to that effect. Some people have suggested it might have been some sort of DMT. Again, I was being lied to and abused as a child, so I apologize for not having all of the facts for everyone.
No.
But this is, when people say they're representing the audience, so this is, to the audience. I get a lot of flack from folks on this topic because they're like, oh, you can't prove that. It's like, of course I can't prove it. What are you asking for here?
Well, exactly. And that's not what we're asking, because it's not our place to judge, because I actually believe that just because of things that are coming to light now, just from World War II activities and on, that they are bringing to light, or people are finally saying, this is happening, and, this happened to me. I definitely, don't have any issue on having somebody say, no, you don't have to give us proof on that. I'm not surprised.
There's enough evidence out there that these programs existed.
Yeah.
But how is somebody that is in one of these programs supposed to provide, irrefutable proof of when the government's illegally testing on you? I mean,
yeah,
that puts a lot of burden on the victim.
It sure does. And it's almost like you have to prove that you're being raped.
Yeah, like something to that effect. Like, it's like, what's what do you really want? Sound alarm.
Well, see, Eric, that's one reason we're doing this show is I personally know a lot of veterans that when they were in had to do these programs and other programs, the MK Ultra, they all the different programs that are disclosing on. They did these programs and they refused to come forward and tell their story and are drinking themselves to death, Eric, because they believe that they signed paperwork that said they can never talk about it. and that they can't ever come forward, even to a doctor, to talk about what they've seen that's bothering them. And so that's why, I'm glad you talked about that you have the memories, because from what I understand, a lot of children that went through this don't remember everything. They just remember having abuse. But
that's natural, and one of the aspects of humanity that the abusers are taking advantage of. Mother Nature is very kind to humanity to begin with. Just look around you. And she's exceptionally kind to the youth. So children that get traumatized have a benefit from Mother Nature called dissociation, where they can take the traumatic, horrible events and literally remove them from the memory banks, separate them, segregate them, and put them away from the purview of the mentality of the child. But an adult will eventually have to deal with those recollections, but Mother Nature, for the benefit of the child in the equation, provides this dissociated state. And what I think we're seeing around us contemporarily is that a lot of adults are now having to deal with these memories that are surfacing of the traumas that were applied to them as children, but nobody knows what to do with all of this. I am observing it as a typical mass casualty incident and just observing the symptoms in mass around me. Right. Nobody seems to be doing any triage work because nobody has realized that these symptoms are the same thing and equate to a large-scale issue. I think we could accomplish a lot if we just realized that this is just a timed event. There's a whole bunch of adults becoming adults at the same time from a period of generational systemic abuse against children in mass.
Yes.
I agree.
So now we have all these former dissociative children that, through the use of Mother Nature's auspices, lived a pretty well integrated life because the dissociation and the segregation of the memories worked. But now that everybody's trying to reintegrate and not even having the vocabulary or understanding to communicate with those around them about what's going on, with these horrible recollections that are returning.
Yeah, because I honestly am still processing myself on, as a child, viewing the abuse to interpreting it as an adult, and I'm like having a difficult time in going, all right, how did this even happen? How was I not protected? So, I completely understand that. So when you went to the Antarctica, was there triggers that happened during that time that prompted you to have these flashbacks and go, this, as a child, you were probably put through the different programs, like you said, and now you're an adult and you're seeing programs that are coming to life and, activities that could possibly be used against humanity in not a positive way. How do you deal with that? I mean, does that even connect?
The only discrepancy in what you stated there would just be the timing of the when, and it wasn't at South Pole Station. It was years later, having digested everything that I had experienced cumulatively through my whole life, basically. I started realizing things didn't add up and were, I guess that, how do I put it? The perspective that I was starting to gain was that a lot of the things that I had done in life and or accomplished, so to say, that it was more like there was a guiding hand opening doors for me, kind of like you're gonna go this way now and take care of this, and we have a task over here, and you're gonna go that way, and now you're gonna take care of that for us. It was just a perspective change in how things went and how I got from, point A to point Z at that time in life. That every for years, people, I just, I like sharing stories, having a beer,
I
having
love it.
fun. And so many times people would say, wow, I can't believe all of the places you've been, the things that you've done, and you need to write a book. Everybody's always telling me I need to write a book, like as if I'm a writer, like just, no, I'm just a drunken storyteller at some points, but I guess they're cool stories. But that, it started to make me really reconsider, like, how is it that I have all these chapters, so to say, of what could be a book? And I guess through that introspection, I started to realize, like, whoa, there's actually something more going on here. And then with, putting those things together and talking to people about things and figuring out what meant this here and what meant that there and what was this program really all about, it started to paint a really not so good picture for the future of humanity, unfortunately. I mean, I don't really bring great news to the conversation. I just bring great responsibility to the people that understand it. There's a different level of weaponry beyond what most people can imagine that
Do you
is
think
being used regularly by many factions on this planet, and we, the people, are in the throes of war, unbeknownst to the vast majority, and there's a new set of wounds for the new type of weapons that people aren't identifying and or triaging the symptoms appropriately.
I can believe that because, you look at just our current veterans that are coming back, in Iraq, you hear about the frequency machine that was used. I had a very reliable soldier confirm that they used a frequency type weapon. And
we have the active denial system here in the U.S. It's all over the place.
Right. And
so
that
you think our enemies don't have these systems? You think our troops haven't been negatively impacted by directed energy weapons?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that our government is not doing the right thing by the veterans of this nation through the veterans hospitals? I mean, come on. We already know that's how this works. They will deny till they die that the opposing forces have directed energy weapons because it's cheaper for them than treating the veterans who have the symptoms.
Well, and they're probably selling black market somewhere that the weapons are being exchanged with this. I mean, look at all the weapons that were left behind in Afghanistan alone.
How many active denial systems were left behind? So now our enemy has directed energy weapon systems as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are these energy weapon systems, are they human developments, or are these alien technology? And we're working with, we have races. I know several races that are working.
All I know is we have the weapon in our hands.
Okay.
I mean, at that stage of the game, I mean, not for nothing. In reality, if you turn a corner and somebody puts a gun to your head, do you then go, well, where did you get this technology from? It doesn't really matter anymore.
Right.
We've so crossed that bridge.
Yeah, no. And that's the other thing is that if we have it and it did come from way back when, or, Roswell, wherever, how much more advances are coming around the corner that
Understood.
I can even think of, even my imagination could come up with.
Yeah, I would go back to that same analogy again, right? Somebody puts a gun to your face. It's not the time to start thinking what technology's around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, this is a weapon system that is negatively impacting the population of the planet without pause.
Now, is it... I'm a little naive in this area, so I apologize. When you say negative, is it that our planet and human and mammal, animals?
We the people. The planet will be fine. Don't let the climatologists scare the snots out of you. Planet Earth will always be fine. There may be times and places that negatively impact humanity because of what humanity does, but the planet will always be fine. So when I talk about these weapons negatively impacting us, I literally mean the human population. That there's factions, many factions, with weapons of war that far exceed what people can imagine right now. And we can just simply use the colloquial term of directed energy weapons systems. And we just have to imagine that there's all this new stuff. It's crazier than you've ever seen in any movie, but this is what's going on. Now, the Department of Defense has issued paperwork discussing what their employees should do when they believe that they have been negatively impacted by directed energy weapon systems and have what are commonly referred to as Havana syndrome-like symptoms.
Oh,
so now
yes.
we, the people, can look around the general population, and when we realize that the vast majority of people are suffering the symptoms from the list of the Havana syndrome situation, then we can all start to properly triage what's going on around us and realize that we're currently in the throes of war, and there's walking wounded everywhere. But because it's not around from a NATO-approved rifle, nobody knows what they're looking at.
Right.
Well, we actually had Joy Womack, who's gotten targeted individuals and Havana syndrome all added to the DSM-5. And we had Amy Holm, who does the audio forensics, Eric. I don't know if you knew this, but she can do audio forensics for people that have been targeted. And she can tell you exactly which companies have your contract and are targeting you, and tell you what weapons they used on you and everything. So
targeted individuals now sounds like old cliche. Who isn't targeted anymore? That's what I'm getting at. Is the targeted individuals were the targets of the past, and are they still suffering? Yes, because they're more acutely attuned to the systems that are now firing on everyone. So it's everybody in the population needs to be assessed for. You need to look at everyone you know and everyone you love and pay attention to see if they're changing. Only the people that are close to each other and in proximity that have enough care and concern can discern who's getting these walking wounded situations. But this is also why we see a system and a structure around us right now to get us to stop integrating, to stop paying attention, to stop conversing with the people on a face-to-face level, because now you're not even going to be able to tell, because you don't integrate with those that you love enough anymore to know them well enough to call them out when they're not acting like themselves. This used to be common practice stuff. You know, we loved each other enough. We communicated enough that, we could say, Granny, you're really not acting like yourself today. Is there something the matter? Do you want to talk? And then we would figure things out and get people back on track. But now that we can't do this anymore, we don't have the capacity or the skill set or the time, because how dare they call me instead of texting me? Everybody's so self-important that, we no longer are integrated enough to call each other out, to even say, you know what, I think you're being negatively impacted by the new weapons platform and you're not being yourself, and this is what they say can occur. But it seems like we're being very well taken advantage of by a technology that is obviously available on a pay-to-play basis.
But why would they want to destroy humanity? And is it only when I think of targeted, I'm thinking like I don't know, maybe the rich to the poor to the middle class, that kind of thing. Because why would the rich want to destroy themselves?
You're presupposing a bunch of things, like as if the rich would want to destroy themselves. So that's your presupposition, not mine. But I would go back to the analogy again. Somebody's got a gun to your face. It's a piss poor time to be saying, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Well, one of our guests watching makes a good point. Population control. That's a very good reason.
There's a motive, but again, the list. The list. There could be 30 things. What if you don't disagree? What if you don't agree with half of them? I mean, does it matter why
Nope,
someone
it's
wants
still
to
there.
shoot you in the face?
Well, what are the symptoms that we should be looking out for?
Easily Googleable. It's not something I remember off the top of my head, but you
Okay.
can look up the list of Havana syndrome symptoms, and it's a set of things from skin issues to mental degradation to hearing sounds. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And again, this is why I recommend people do the research and get informed and pay attention to those around them and find who the walking wounded are.
Well,
Get them the help that they need.
Well, in this last 2-3 years, ADHD has become like the highest diagnosed system on people, adults that didn't or were undiagnosed as a child, but now there's like this super big thing on ADHD, and it's all about the mental health. And so I only know a little bit about the Havana, and mostly it's been that's not true. It was only proven that it was noise, and that was it. That's what I have encountered. But I will definitely look more into the Havana symptoms so that I can become more educated. I will do that.
I actually have a question for you.
Let me just jump in there. If you go to the archive section of deciphering.tv, I have the DoD document that they distributed to their employee base. So there's really no question to the veracity of the existence of these weapons being utilized in our population. We already have the Department of Defense providing an avenue for their employees to get the medical treatment that they are required to provide to their employees because said circumstance is going on. So this is the paper trail that proves what I'm saying isn't a claim.
Okay.
It's the current state of reality.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. And that was what TV?
Deciphering.tv. It's my website. Okay. It's on the bottom of the screen next to my name.
Oh, there we go. Yes. Diary. All right. I am not the greatest communicator, so I apologize.
It's all good.
Yeah. Okay, Peggy, sorry I cut you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Granny. Have you met any other non-human beings when you worked at the South Pole?
Negative.
Negative? Okay. Did you ever hear stories of any being there?
I mean, to be honest, I think I've heard like every kind of story you could make up at the South Pole while we're there. It was a long year, and there was really nothing else going on other than busting each other's balls religiously. So, I mean, did we have stories about aliens? Yeah, I mean, I dressed up as an alien one time. We had a fake UFO thing hanging from the ceiling. So, I mean, yeah, we were always like messing around and playing games. But did I ever see anything there that was off-worldly or inner-worldly? No. I've had people joke around with me and make suggestions, which I do have to give some consideration to in the grand scheme of, the universe is complex, and I didn't think of it, but hey, you never know. There were so many people around covered head to toe in extreme cold weather gear, like no skin exposed, nothing. Like, if you did want to hide an alien in plain sight and walk it by everyone, apparently, yeah, I guess that could work. Like, you could just wrap them up in head to toe in gear and walk them right through the hallway. So everybody's like, could you have seen an alien? I guess in cold weather gear.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what about rumors? And I've read that some soldiers said that they have come across different, like from Nazis, had different territories and buildings there that they were using for experimental uses. Was that also
there
part
does seem to be a history. There does seem to be a referenceable history to attest to what you just said.
So it was not just like you guys were carrying on, found the information, and then continuing on.
I'm not
You
following what
know,
you're getting at.
like we found the old Nazi stuff, and the station
I
carried
don't think
on.
there was ever a Nazi presence at the South Pole.
Oh, okay.
I believe they had bases in Antarctica proper, but a lot of people do. But I don't believe they were ever at the South Pole. I think that was part of
Oh,
the
okay.
U.S. going there in 1957 to be the first winter over crew. It was kind of like staking the claim.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, sorry, I was looking at something. Michael, don't send stuff to me during the show. Get in here and ask the question. Hey,
You're
you're
not
muted,
on.
Benny.
What he was referring to is the Germans actually dropped flags from an airplane and called it New Schwabenland, and it was just a certain territory that they claimed. As far as I know, they didn't have any bases or
Oh,
anything
okay.
like that. They did
Oh,
they did run submarines down there for supply runs, but I don't think they actually ever established. So
There's been information to be extremely suggestive, although not proving, that they did in fact have facilities set up there. There was some of the entries from, I believe, some of the submarine captains referencing an impenetrable fortress that they had manufactured for the Fuhrer.
Mm-hmm.
So they were laying claim to something. And then post World War II, almost immediately after, when Byrd went down there with what was supposed to be a scientific expedition, Operation High Jump, they pretty much got their asses handed to them and came home with their tail between their legs, and everything got classified. So something kicked the shit out of them down there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been watching and reading about that, and the journals that have come out and not been proven
I
to
find
be.
the journals
Yeah.
that come out, I find highly, highly, highly questionable, because I keep hearing people reference these things that I've never seen anyone produce them.
No.
But boy, they seem to be getting referenced a lot, though.
Yes, they do. I
It
apologize.
sounds to me like a entire pile of propaganda that they're trying to commandeer the narrative again. And, I appreciate that a lot of other people in regards to this topic may lack the discernment that I can wield, because I did spend a year there. I hear stuff like this. It just sounds like total garbage to me. It sounds like a whole bunch of people that are plagiarizing something, even if it's out there. We're not being shown the original source, right?
Nope.
So it'd be like if you're not being shown the Bible, but the preacher's going to keep giving you his interpretation of what it means. And that's what I see going on, is that people are commandeering the topic of Antarctica. They have no idea the information that they're being presented, because they've never been there and they can't appreciate the context. So there's a ton of stuff that they get wrong in their interpretation, and they have no idea how silly their interpretation sounds to someone who's actually been there. But the masses eat it up, because nobody in that side of the equation has ever been there and knows how to have the right discernment or appreciation for what's really going on down there. So that's where I'm trying to get intermingled into the conversation, where I'm finding great resistance, because there's a lot of people that are doing well by monopolizing the topic and profiteering accordingly.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah. Well, here,
Go ahead.
I'll give you a good example. 1920s. And everybody's going to Africa on safaris. And there's this big legend about crazy mountain men running around, and they're dangerous. Well, years later, they find out they're mountain gorillas. But they use the media over here, use that to profit off of. And it's the same thing, I think, going on in Alaska. You get a suspect photo, and all of a sudden they're going to town, man. That's 10 grand on that article right there.
Right. Yeah. I was actually part of a television production up here in Alaska for a popular television series called The Alaska Triangle. And I was involved in season 2, episode 9. And the producers sent me out to Ketchikan, Alaska, hired a camera crew, a boat captain, and sent us out in the water. And what they had asked me to do was investigate reports of unidentified submerged objects in the area. And I did it. And when I found the stuff, basically I went through a series, of motions where I would utilize the equipment they gave us, drop it down into the water, check for stuff, say, hey, I don't hear anything here. I'm not here, and a whole bunch of misses occurred before we dialed in a location and found exactly what they sent us to look for. But when they produced the show and aired it, they edited out all the successful activity and only played the searching, hunting, can't find parts as if that was the extent of the event. They edited out the accomplishment. So I'm also learning that these programs that we're being told are disseminating information for us and doing due diligence and looking at things. And it's all a show, folks. Like literally, it's a show. Where we're being lied to 6 ways from Sunday. And I know because all of these peculiar avenues that I've been to in my career, I'm just finding deception across the board. Like, it's like, welcome to adulthood. We're all told as children, you have to grow up and be good, honest, and be an upstanding citizen in the world, so that you can work hard and accomplish things. What a load of baloney we were taught, huh? It turns out that the world's run by lying billionaires and a whole bunch of other people that are willing to try to be a bigger liar than the next person next to them so that they can profit higher than that other person.
Yep.
So we just see, everybody's just, trying to get at the plate at once, take a swing at the ball and hit a grand slam, and they don't care if they catch anyone else in the teeth.
Yep. Well, and see, back years ago when I did paranormal investigation, actually, for about 10 years, we were approached by several different studios trying to get us to be on TV, and we kept refusing them because part of the contract stated that they could change anything they wanted after we filmed. Mm-hmm. Well, if they do that, then that means they're going to totally screw with what was actually seen and filmed. Mm-hmm. And some of the amazing stuff we captured never showed up on TV.
There you go. Yeah, power of the edit.
Did. They were wanting to make everybody stay in a state of fear and not show them that there was anything to be scared of. They'd rather scare the shit out of everybody. Mm-hmm. That way they can get people to come back the next week.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's what, is deception. These energy weapons, if they're being played on both sides, it's almost like whose turn is it this week? But you're saying that it's going on all the time, all over the world. It's not.
Yeah. Why would you limit it to two sides in this equation?
Right.
There's a lot more factions on this planet at each other's throats. I mean, the United States military isn't got itself set up on one front as if there's one potential enemy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's true.
We're
everywhere.
Right. And so, we point our guns in every direction, and in every direction we have guns pointing back at us. And then out in that arena, all the guns are pointed in every other direction as well. Everybody's at each other's throats constantly. Any veterans know this, that it's all total bullshit that we've been taught about the war machine and all of that stuff. So just imagine how many different factions out there would want to have the most powerful weapons. I mean, this is obvious to the most casual observers in this conversation that, there's bad people all over the planet that want the craziest weapons that their money can buy. They have plenty of money to buy the craziest weapons, and they will use them as much as they want to until someone comes and kills them. I mean, that's how things work on this planet. Yep. Bad people do horrible things until good people organize and stop them. The problem is the bad people organize faster.
Right, because the good people don't believe it's actually happening.
They don't know what's going on. They're oblivious, Granny.
Well,
they're still asleep.
And this is going to sound crazy as all get out, but I could swear that Rome never fell out of power. They just kept rebranding.
Right.
Is all they've done. And
that's
it's just
one big game. Smart power players function.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, and we
really don't know who the richest people on the planet are right now, and because they're smart enough to pay large fortunes to maintain their anonymity.
Yes, they are.
the real rich people, we don't know their names. If it's someone on television and like, oh, this is the richest person in the world, they're a peon compared to the richest people in the world. We're just not allowed to know their names.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfectly reasonable tactical maneuver. No one can attack you if they don't know you
Don't know who
exist.
you are.
Yeah.
And they don't know you're
That's
behind
true.
all the stuff that's
Yeah.
going on below you. It's
Yeah.
almost like
All you
there's a
gotta do is
pyramid
keep
scheme, and
rebranding.
if
I feel like
everybody
I'm
started
waking up
talking,
through a fog right now. Literally, I feel like I'm waking up, and it's kind of like,
Well,
wow.
there's something me and my wife noticed, and I know Granny's kind of noticed it, especially this past year. And I hadn't got any recording equipment yet to do it, but we've had a lot of flyovers of said helicopters, and our dogs, animals, everything go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the guys that are on board don't even realize what they're doing. They're just told to turn on the equipment at said point and turn it back off at said point. But I've actually witnessed that myself, where it's who knows which agency, but it's a government entity flying around, and it's like they're testing areas. And like our little community here, literally everybody started getting on Facebook talking about how our animals were getting affected by just this one flyover. I could not imagine what you could do from the pole, considering that there's, the ionosphere is a lot easier to access from that point. And not, you were talking about a neutron emitter. My God, there's nothing that blocks neutrons. It's just, you're not even safe anymore.
Yeah, and this
So-
is just, again, one system at one location.
Right.
It's a
Right.
way bigger, way more complex problem, and we, the people of the planet, just need to start paying attention to the throes of war at a level that we haven't previously considered, are just occurring everywhere we
Right.
look.
Well, just off top, how far away from the South Pole were you actually? Or were you
I
dead
was
on?
at the South Pole, the
Wow.
official bottom dead center of the planet.
I bet that is weird watching the sun go around the horizon.
It was intense. What we observed there of the sun was, it was insane. And then also to the other end of the pendulum swing was the wintertime, the pure darkness. The sun goes away for months on end, and the view of the sky is, it's no different than being out in space. It's the same difference at that point.
Wow, I bet that's
Now-
amazing to see that.
I have an off the wall question, Eric. You have you've talked about energy stuff on your energy healing and stuff. Can you feel energy, like Reiki energy and stuff? Can you feel the energy of the earth? Because I've been to different places on the earth, and when you feel the energy, it shifts in different locations. Some can be really negative and draining, and there's others that are really positive and uplifting, and you don't want to leave. What was the energy like there? That's one thing I've always wanted to know, because I've never physically gone there.
It's a very interesting question, and I can only tell you what I was thinking as you were making the inquiry. Was I kind of just, I guess I believe that if I was to go back there again, that I would feel exactly what you're talking about, and it would feel familiar. But I'd be hard pressed to try to express what it is I would be feeling. I think there has to be some sort of difference in the energy.
I think what she's
at the
referring
South
to,
Pole of this
like,
planet than the rest of it, and it's a curiosity that I have as a very specific question to the science community. Like, is there any known appreciable difference in the energy at the South Pole that's moving around compared to other places on the planet? And how should that impact a human being that's exposed to said energy if they're there for the duration of a year? Because I believe, we study so many other things and apply qualities and quantify them. Like, how can anyone say that wouldn't matter? That's something. It has to do something.
Right.
Well, absolutely, because there's so much energy. If it actually goes through the poles, like all the projections show, if you took a lot of people that are aware of their energy in their body, they could add to that data and help verify. Because I've always wondered, because they talk about the poles being where it's most intense and where everything's coming into the earth. I've always wondered, what does it feel like at the poles? Is it very warming and welcoming, and you don't ever want to leave, or is it a false welcome? It's a false sense of security kind of thing. I know that's an odd question, but it's something that's
no, it's a fairly odd question because it's a fairly odd location.
Well,
again,
here's an easier way to put it. What's most bases have a vibe? If that makes any sense to you, like the mentality of everybody. What was the vibe there as far as everybody and how they got along?
It was extremely serious and professional during normal operations of business, especially during emergency operations, which happened quite regularly.
Wow.
There were system failures quite regularly. We had, full bunker gear responses all the time. Things got very serious very fast. So in that environment, there's no room for error. You have to get things rectified and quickly and correctly. So there's a high level of professionalism. We would state that day-to-day operations were pretty much, it was insane levels of boredom mixed with bouts of sheer terror was what we would joke around.
Wow.
When the alarms went off, things got very serious. I mean, there were times where we lost our primary water supply. We had, actual legit fires in facilities that would make a nuclear bomb going off seem like a good thing.
Wow.
Yeah, there was medical emergencies that we had to attend to. We had my crew, not myself personally, but my crew performed the first appendectomy ever at the South Pole during the winter season of 2011.
That's awesome.
This is a real serious, like, if anything goes wrong, you have to turn to your crew to figure it out. And I assure you, we weren't prepared to do an appendectomy. That was a quick learn up of skills.
Yeah, I bet.
So did y'all have to call a teleconference a doctor in to do it, or were we all trained to do that level of surgery?
Oh, they had an entire crew teleconferenced in, an absurd amount of folks. Yeah, it was a big deal. But effectively, when it came down to it, it was the hands of the rest of the crew, which goes, from a grub lugger to a science tech to a work order scheduler, a logistics technician. I mean, it's just, you just turn to your crew. And fortunately, we had one that was training up as, the medical emergency response team, basically, that fell on their feet. But it was a portion of our crew that, this is not effectively what they do.
Right.
Right.
Well, I hope it was very successful.
It was.
Yay! Well, we're getting to the closer hour here. Is there, if you had a message that you would want to send out, what would it be at this point, at this time, that is hitting you personally at this moment?
Know thyself, know thy neighbor, know thy loved ones. Pay attention to yourself, pay attention to those that you're in proximity to, and most importantly, pay attention to those that you love. Learn what directed energy weapon systems are, learn what the Havana Syndrome symptoms list is, and check to see if it's becoming more pervasive in your environment. Because everybody can verify whether what I'm saying is true or not, but they have to put the effort in and pay attention to the people around them and stop getting dragged in deeper and deeper into this digital world that allows for these weapons to be utilized more effectively against us because we're not paying enough attention to our brothers and sisters next to us.
So, yeah, do you think that that's being done on purpose, on
Yes.
dumbing us up?
Yes.
Our children are not great communicators, having
I think if
conversations.
you can't see this with great ease at this point, the dumbing down is working on you.
Yeah. I
You know, me and my
apologize.
wife
I'm beyond politeness in all of these things. And another thing, while we have some seconds left, since this is a veteran community and a veteran audience, I'm going to also suggest that all of you veterans out there start to stand up and take your oaths and obligations really seriously. Because we cannot expect the civilian population to stand up for something that they never even ever obligated them to, like you folks have. You stood up at one point in your life and took on the responsibility of protecting all of these people, and you didn't do it with an expiration date. And we are all in trouble, and you are the folks that have been trained to do something about it. Remember that, against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Take that shit seriously. Holy cow, who else are we supposed to expect to be on point?
Exactly.
What would you say to those veterans that have wanted to talk but are scared to because they've had their lives threatened?
Signing up for the military was you saying, I'm willing to pay for this with my ass included. That's the job. That's the obligation. I'm sorry. Did you tell me they're scared?
There are some out there that are scared.
Oh,
So
well,
scared
that's
they will not.
problem number one. I mean, come on. Like I stated at the beginning, this is a war, so fear is not an option. I mean,
Right.
Give me a break, really? They're scared? Okay, don't be scared. Right? Pretend you're drill instructors here all over again. Toughen up, do some push-ups until you're tougher. I mean, I don't know what to tell folks. You're scared. Step up and do the right thing and stop being a coward. If you know something, say something. If it's for the betterment of humanity, do something about it immediately. If you're in an illegal program, the NDA doesn't count. If you were in a program that didn't have congressional oversight, it was illegal. If we, the people, cannot be properly informed to the program that you were in, that means it's without oversight, and you should be speaking immediately. That would be the patriotic thing to do. We, the people, for the people of the United States of America, not the individual programs that lied to you and attempted to mute you with an illegal NDA. Step up and do the right thing for we, the people. And if it means that someone's going to threaten you, what were you trained to do when someone threatened you? Back down and say things like, I'm scared I might get hurt. I'm scared they might threaten the ones I love. Everybody's under threat already. That's why people joined and stepped up to do the right thing and be bold, not to then get to the front line and say, but I'm afraid.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the controversy, again, is that the convincing of the masses is that you have that conflict of, oh, well, yeah, oh, is it happening? No, it's not really happening. It's just, crazy people out there saying this. And that's the battle, just like they're saying the economy is going to be just fine. No problem. We're not in recession. You have people that are just getting dummied more and more and more and don't even want to think for themselves anymore because it's so overwhelming, unfortunately.
People are going for the instant fix, Granny. People are going for the instant food. And unfortunately, that food's not real and they're getting sick and don't know why. And then they have the Havana syndrome on top of it. And it makes them sicker and they go to the doctor and get put on prescriptions, which make them sicker. People need to wake up and start paying attention to what's being done around them and paying attention to the distractions that are happening within their communities and around themselves.
I see there's a lot more anger, a lot less compassion. I see a lot of emotional distance just in general, but I have to look it up and see what he has getting on deciphering.tv. And I will do that, Eric. I will.
Mike,
I
you
want
love
to
it.
know more.
Do you have any questions, Mike?
No, I was just listening intently. He's got a lot of information. I'm just trying to pay attention as much as possible.
Well, I hope we
So,
didn't bore you too much.
No, it's always nice to just get the info out there, and this is the burden I bear. Is just I have to do everything I can and do a full court press to just find people that are interested in the topic. Thank you for having me and having that interest, and I'm just trying to do my best to get it out.
we're hoping, because we're talking to the veteran community, your message will get out a little bit stronger. I think a lot of people just watch things for entertainment, and they don't take things. I guess it's hard for everybody to discern nowadays, which is real.
I'm not trying to be entertaining. Like I said before, I'm not bringing great news to the table. It's just life, But
Right.
I'm bringing great responsibility to the people that understand what I'm saying. This really matters right now. This is the audience that it should matter to most, because this is the demographic out there that actually took on the responsibility of doing something about the information I'm presenting. We the people are under direct threat against an enemy that is either foreign, domestic, or both. And that involves you fine folks. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's across the board happening, but we need to get to the root of the problem, because it's negatively impacting the people.
Right.
And the only way to do that, guys, is for everybody worldwide to come around and share what they've seen. If you see something,
and if you want to catch up, well, I was going to say, and if everybody wants to catch up on what Eric's been discussing tonight, go over to his website and check out deciphering.tv. I've got a lot of stuff to read now. I was looking at all your documents, man. That is amazing.
Right. We got to have you back, and this time I will be more educated and ask you really tough questions. I'll make it challenging for you.
I'm not necessarily. My goal isn't to be. My motive is just to get the information out. I would like to do it in the quickest way possible, and getting more informed on the topic. I think we can just have an excellent dialogue to move things forward.
We will do that.
Absolutely. I'm surprised Mike didn't ask you about remote viewing. I was trying to leave that question for him. That was the last question I had before we wrap up, if you don't mind, Eric.
What's the question?
Your experience with remote viewing. Did you learn that in the Stargate program or some other program?
Yep, that was that childhood program that I was in. That they just were doing what they can to try to make us practical little remote viewers, and it involved the Monroe Institute protocols, a book by a gentleman named Itzhak Bentov, and some aspects of MK Ultra as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I've been delving into that myself recently, because I have flashes of memories from childhood, and I'm able to do remote viewing, but nobody was ever taught me how to do it. And so I've got some things to go look into deeper. Yeah, to my knowledge. So I have some things to examine, and hopefully some other veterans look into this stuff, and they have some stuff to go look into and learn about it.
Don't be silent. Educate yourselves. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for, like Eric said, your loved ones, your family, friends. Keep an eye out. Communicate. Don't just do, over the computer. Actually talk to them. Get to, we got to check on each other. You got to be for each other. This is our world. There's more of us than them.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a marvelous night.
Remember, sharing is caring. Good night.
Night.